Her name became a byword for elegance. The little black dress, the dark sunglasses, the Tiffany's window from Breakfast at Tiffany's. Images forever woven into the fabric of cinema. Yet behind that glamour lay a story scented not with perfume, but with gunpowder and pain. Audrey Hepburn was born in Brussels in 1929, into a world already tumbling toward war. Her father, a supporter of fascist ideology, abandoned the family, leaving them in the whirlwind of political chaos. She was 10 when hunger became a constant companion. She ate tulip bulbs, drank murky water, watched executions in the streets, and carried secret messages for the resistance, fully aware that if she were caught, she might never return. From that gray, brutal reality, she stepped into Hollywood, seemingly a promised land. But there, another form of violence awaited her. Softer, more seductive, yet no less dangerous. The hands of directors, the stares that spoke not of admiration for her talent but of possession. Propositions to trade a role for obedience in bed. She refused and lost projects, yet she kept moving forward on her own terms. By the late 1960s, after a string of films marred by biased editing and uninspired roles, she had to step back. Publicly, it was said she retired for family life. But behind that polite narrative was another truth. She had been quietly crossed off the list of desirable stars by the very people who once placed her on a pedestal. Her personal life bore its own fractures. A husband who brought a mistress into their home just after she had given birth. A director who had once been madly in love, telling others, "She's beautiful, but she's stupid." A man who promised marriage after his divorce, only to disappear on the day of their engagement, with her personal assistant. And yet, she found the strength to rise, not for another role, but to serve where there were no cameras and no applause. With UNICEF, she delivered food in war zones, brought clean water to African villages, and embraced children who knew the world only through gunfire and hunger. In January 1993, Audrey Hepburn passed away quietly at home, surrounded by family, after a long battle with colon cancer. A battle she never spoke of publicly until the very end. She lived a life steeped in both light and darkness, and perhaps never realized how many hearts she saved by example. Those who once lifted her up only to cast her down faded into the shadows. But her name, her image, and her kindness outlived them all. He was the embodiment of strength and dangerous allure. Silver hair, a commanding posture, and a smile as cold as steel. Hollywood knew him as Burt Lancaster, the Silver Fox, a man whose presence could mesmerize and intimidate in equal measure. To many, he was an icon, a symbol of grit and charisma. But to Audrey Hepburn, he became not a co-star, but the chief villain of her life. It was 1960. The filming of The Unforgiven was meant to mark a turning point for Audrey. This was her first role as a woman who embodied both fragility and inner fire, tenderness and the will to fight. But her partner was Lancaster, a man used to dominating both on and off camera, unwilling to share the spotlight and certainly not about to surrender even an inch of his glory. From the very first day, he made it clear, she was an outsider here. A cold stare, not a word during breaks, refusal to rehearse. And then came the ill-fated horseback scene. The shot required perfect synchronicity, but instead of supporting her, Lancaster suddenly spurred his horse forward, leaving her behind. Audrey lost her balance, crashed to the ground, and suffered a serious spinal injury. Weeks in the hospital followed. His response? A dismissive, too delicate. "This is a Western, not Paris Fashion Week." Off-screen, Lancaster was a man of contradictions. Hollywood whispered about his secret life, about affairs with men. Actors, crew members, even celebrated directors. In a former lover's diary appeared names like Nick Koteff, Tony Curtis, and even Marlene Dietrich. For Lancaster, such rumors were a threat. He feared exposure, and Audrey, with her flawless image, global fame, and fragile beauty, became a mirror in which he saw his own vulnerability. And so, he struck where it would hurt most. During post-production, as a producer, Lancaster ordered nearly 30 minutes of her scenes cut, reducing her role to a decorative presence. Variety wrote, "Hepburn is dull, lacking her usual spark." Newspapers blamed her, never knowing the truth about what had happened behind the scenes. The woman who once made the world stop in Roman holiday now appeared in headlines as faded and lifeless. Her career began to slide. Roles stopped coming, invitations dried up. And behind it all stood Lancaster, the man who once told her words she would never forget. "Hollywood only needs one Hepburn, and I prefer Catherine." Beneath his outward strength hid a